Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister-in-law and brother-in-law out of my house, when she said my daughters aren't really mine? I, 37 female, have 2 daughters. The eldest, and a 7-year-old, is technically the child of my late husband and my sister genetically, in that, she was carried by a surrogate and made from my late husband's sperm and my sister's donated egg. My younger daughter, Lily 4-year-old, is adopted. We adopted her a year ago. Originally, we had planned on using another of my sister's eggs, but she passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, and I decided it would be disrespectful to use the eggs of hers we had stored, without her permission. My husband passed away a little over a month ago from the virus. It has been very hard adjusting to life without him after 12 years together, and the girls miss their dad terribly. I am lucky that my family was well off, and when our parents passed away, my sister and I were given nice nest eggs, and I have an excellent job that pays mid-6 figures, that I thank our lucky stars for every single day. Shortly after my husband's death, his brother and wife reached out to me asking if they could stay with me for a couple of months, as brother-in-law had lost his job and they could no longer afford their flat. In addition, their young baby had a bad lung infection that was draining every spare cent they had. My house is only 4 bedrooms, but of course I let them move in, and there were problems from the start. Sister-in-law tried to demand that I and Lily give up our co-joined rooms so they could have them for the baby. Brother-in-law got nosy about my husband's life insurance, and sulked when he found out he wasn't one of the beneficiaries. They both, being vegan, complained about me cooking meat and other animal products. I tried to turn a blind eye, knowing that they were probably just stressed and sleep-deprived from the baby. The problem came last weekend, when they approached me asking for some of my daughter's inheritance. Most of my husband's life insurance went into a college fund for our daughters, and they know this, to pay for their son's care. I declined, but offered to tap into the nest egg my parents/sister had left me to pay for some of it. They then asked why I couldn't pay for all of it, since I was well off, and I gently explained that just because things were okay now, I wanted to plan for worst case, not best. They got angry, and started yelling in front of Lily. They said that really neither of my daughters had any claim to the money, since they weren't really my daughters, and that I was selfish for not supporting them. I immediately told them to pack and go to their parents. I said they had 24 hours to be out, or I would evict them, and that I was sick of listening to them complain. They left shortly after, but now I'm being called a terrible person for kicking out a young child. And I feel really guilty. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. This situation is absurd. Your brother-in-law and sister-in-law crossed so many lines. You did the right thing by kicking them out. Those people sound toxic as hell. Don't let them guilt you into taking them back. Not the a-hole, and don't give them any money. Why would you offer to pay for anything? They're no blood relations of yours anyway. I'm super creeped out that they asked if they were beneficiaries of your husband's life insurance. Why would they ask that? Make sure to lock down your credit, and do everything you can to make sure they haven't stolen your identities. Not the a-hole. Based upon their logic, they're not your family anymore because your connection with them passed with your husband. You were kind enough to offer them a place to stay, because you have a more expansive sense of family than they do. Complaining about a host's dietary habits is effectively complaining about their hospitality. Yeah, I'm looking for a job myself, but just because a person can afford something, doesn't mean they should pay for it. And Anna is the husband's biological daughter, and the OP's parents' biological grandchild. Even if they didn't count adoptions, the money would still go to her before the brother-in-law. Not the a-hole. You were kind enough to open your home to them, and they repaid it with disrespect, rudeness, greed, entitlement, and nastiness. I'm so sorry for your loss. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my boyfriend's sister and brother? I have been with my boyfriend for 3 years and we keep our finances separate. We split the bills down the middle, and aside from that, our money is not really discussed unless we have a big purchase we need to make. This was my decision, due to my mom running me into debt and constantly asking for money. I saw his family as the exact same way with him, and I wasn't about to be put even further in debt at the hands of his family. Over the course of 3 years, I have helped out his family more than I should have, by giving them money to pay off land taxes, helping them get their vehicles out of impound, and much more. It's over $3,000 I have already helped them with. Recently, my boyfriend's sister and brother ran into some money trouble because both of them lost their job during COVID. They didn't attempt to look for other employment, and simply lived off unemployment for several months. Well, unemployment is now over for them, and now they are scurrying for employment and haven't had luck. So now their house is in jeopardy because they can't pay their mortgage. They have not directly asked me for the back mortgage money, $3,000 roughly, but I had a pretty strong feeling that that day was coming. I was right. Last night, my boyfriend got a phone call from his sister begging for help. He had her on speaker. She asked if he had a few hundred that she could put toward her mortgage payment, and he said of course. She then asked if I did. He looked over to me and said, "Babe, do you have any extra that you can help out with? If not, it's fine. There's no obligation." I responded with a simple no. He didn't question it. He just said to his sister, "Sorry, but Tiff doesn't have any extra cash that she can help with." Well, his sister started going off. Crying, freaking out, etc. Kept saying her kid wasn't going to have a roof over her head. Now, I have exactly $11,000 in savings currently and I'm more than able to help her out, but I won't. His sister then said, she literally always has money, and she knows I would pay her back, so what's the big freaking deal? If she can't help me out by keeping a roof over my daughter's head, then I will resent her for the rest of her days. And said something about how if I really wanted to be a part of this family, then I would start acting like it. The thing is though, she hasn't even fully paid me back the $3,000 I have already helped her with 2 years ago. She has only paid back $250 of it. But now I feel like an a-hole. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. No, is a complete sentence and you are doing the right thing. You are not a bank. But why did boyfriend not shut sister down the minute she started going off on OP? If they are going to have any type of future together, he needs to have her back. Sister, OP has said she cannot help you. I am graciously helping you, even though you are an adult and in charge of your own finances. But know if you speak to OP like this again, we will both be suspending contact with you. 1. She still has an open debt. 2. Your money is yours, not her emergency fund. 3. Using her daughter should have been motivation for her, not you. This, she should have been looking for a job this whole time if she wanted to keep a roof over her daughter's head. Not the a-hole, she's lazy and she sees you as her meal ticket. Your boyfriend should have hung up right away, and withdrawn his offer of money as well in solidarity with you. Why would you lend her a cent when she verbally abused you, after you refused to give her money that she's not entitled to? Hold firm, don't give her a cent. She will be back for more money if you give it to her. She doesn't want to earn it cause she thinks she'll just give it to her. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not being there for my daughter's birth for the sake of my mental health? I, 38 mil, have bipolar disorder. I was officially diagnosed when I was 34, after years of denial and ineffective coping. A year later, I got on medication, and my wife, 40 female, and I got married. However, a year after that, I realized that while my meds moderated the highs and lows I felt, my job required a lot of creativity, and the meds were stifling that part of me. Around that time, my wife got pregnant with our first daughter. It was her first pregnancy at 38 and was a stressful one. She gained an alarming amount of weight, and she'd yell at me when I said she was at risk for getting gestational diabetes, even though I merely paraphrased the doctor's words. It turned out to be a 20-hour labor, and when my wife said forceps were her worst fear, a nurse yelled at her. After seeing what they were doing with the forceps, I got lightheaded and threw up and needed to lay down. That birth experience caused me to barely be able to eat or take my meds. 2 years later, my wife got pregnant again. The stress of her going on maternity leave caused my emotions to go haywire. My wife tried to comfort me, but when I look at her, I don't see the girl I fell in love with, and I couldn't look at her the same anymore. This month, she suggested a vacation with her to our cabin up north. I drove up first, but her mom called and said she didn't feel well enough to travel. After the ensuing fight, I texted my therapist and she said to take some time for myself. So, I have been at our cabin for a little more than a week. My mother-in-law calls me 2 days ago to tell me my wife went into labor early. This made me instantly nauseous, because I just kept imaging the gruesome, disgusting sights from last time. And I feared what would happen to me mentally if I ended up having to relive it all. I didn't know the baby would come so early, and I could feel my head spinning. I had been slowly going off my meds since our 2-year-old was born, and by the time my wife got pregnant again, my doctor has been trying to sell me on med adjustments, which I hate even more. So, I realized the only thing I could control right now is my environment. And a delivery room wasn't one I could handle. So, I ended up staying at the cabin for the rest of the night, and through the next morning. My mother-in-law sent me an angry text, saying that my wife needed an emergency C-section after 13 hours, and that words can't express both of their rage at me not being there. But then added, that she was sure I would have screwed things up. Now I'm driving back even though my wife screamed at me over the phone, that she didn't want me to visit her in the hospital. She also said she rejected and named the baby after her mom instead of what we decided on. Am I the a-hole when even my mill admitted I would have been no help, and might have actually passed out this time around? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole, you let this entire pregnancy go by without coming up with a plan for the birth? You should have been working on coping mechanisms, or a plan for someone else to support her. Instead, you ghosted her. Edit, and holy hell, I forgot to mention the comments about her gaining weight, her maternity leave stressing you out, and her not being the girl you fell in love with anymore because she got pregnant. What a horrible way to treat your partner. Not only that, he didn't realize the baby would come that early. How could anyone be that ignorant? You made the choice not to support your wife through a very traumatic experience, and missed the birth of your daughter. You're the a-hole. I've never been in the room during a birth, but can't he just focus on her face or something? Why was he even looking at the forceps if it bothers him so much? When my future wife, fingers crossed, single right now, is pregnant, fingers crossed, my plan was to hold her hand and look at her face, that way I'm being supportive, and don't have to see anything too medicalish. You're the a-hole. You had the option of medication, but chose to prioritize creativity over being a supportive partner and parent. You could have managed your condition and avoided this crisis. Yep. Not to mention, for the most part, we're just as creative on the meds as off them. So that's a BS cop-out. Now for the last story. My 25 female sister, 28 female, is angry and resentful towards our stepsister, 31 female, for having a baby. I'm in the middle and don't have any way of dissolving this. Help? Backstory: so, my sister is a very self-centered person who thinks everything should be catered to her. I'm not exaggerating. She bought herself 2 cats for fun and doesn't care for them, and she spends her husband's money willy-nilly, while expecting our dad to pay for expensive things like a whole kitchen. It's bad. Raising boundaries is met with her lashing out, and eventually crying and cutting contact until she comes back like nothing ever happened. She used to hit me when we were younger, whenever she wanted something and I didn't want to give her. I still have scars from her punching her nails in my arm to change the TV channel. Our mom, out of the picture, used to hit us both growing up, so I understand where she got all this from. We're a patchwork family now. All living in their own homes with spouses. My dad lives with his girlfriend. Stepsis 1, 27 female, lives with her boyfriend, and stepsis 2, 31 female, lives with her husband. We basically all have different opinions in life, but aside from minor arguments every other year, we all get along pretty well and always help each other out. Except for my biosis. She's just not trying to be part of the family. She doesn't like them, and she thinks they are hostile towards her. Which isn't true. She just likes to act like life is against her, so she has special attention. Current situation: sister had a miscarriage 3 years ago. It was traumatic and everyone was there for her. She acted like it was nothing, no crying, no emotions except indifference. Her husband was crushed. They resumed trying to get pregnant ever since, and it never worked. The thing is, that she's morbidly obese and doesn't want that to change. She keeps telling us that the doctor never mentions weight loss as a means to be healthier for a possible pregnancy. She always tells us about hormone imbalance, and that she's one of very few women who can't get pregnant for whatsoever reason. Everyone tells her to start some physical activity for better health and to go to therapy. She doesn't care, since everything is apparently alright with her. My stepsis 2 got pregnant in February last year. She is married and happy with her husband. They are together since almost 8 years, and they wanted children. My biosis is mad about this, ever since they announced the pregnancy. No matter how much I kept telling her that she has nothing to do with someone else's children, and no need to be envious. She keeps telling everyone how traumatic it is that stepsis got pregnant, when she doesn't even deserve it. I kept laying on the please go to therapy, you're causing a rift with the family horn. She kept being angry. She apparently deserves a baby and no one else does. Fast forward. The cute little gremlin got born some months ago, and we're all elated, except for biosis of course. We only got the birth certificate on WhatsApp, And no photos due to the parents not wanting the pics going around. No one could visit them yet due to the pandemic. Sister was occasionally texting a mean thing or two about the baby, that I promptly deflected every time. Then she continues like nothing happened. I'm child-free and won't have any, but I'm going to be a devoted cool gay aunt who does nice trips with the nieces and nephews, so I'm not baby crazy, but I can recognize that this is special, and the child is a new and valuable member of our family now. Biozis got some congrats on her birthday in the family chat, and she only answered everyone, except for stepsis 2 and her husband. Which is a big a-hole move. Stepsis now sent in a little video of the baby yawning, and it's as cute as it can get. This is the first time we're seeing the baby ever. Biozis immediately texted me, asking me to warn her when that stupid brat is being shared in the family chat, since she is courteous enough to still look in the family chat, despite risk of seeing the thing. I told her I will do no such thing. She said she will exit the family chat then. I told her she's free to do so. She blocked stepsis 1 and her husband. Question: what am I supposed to do with this? My sis is obviously a self-centered witch with no regards of other people's feelings. But she's still my sister, and sometimes she's nice and she has helped me in the past. I've told her time and time again she needs therapy. And I would sincerely hope a therapist could explain to her that she needs to change her worldview drastically, if she wants to keep being a part of any family. But Biozis doesn't see anything wrong in herself. Everyone else is at fault, just not her. I can't go no contact, but should I try to defuse the situation by apologizing to my stepsis 2 and husband on behalf of my Biozis? I'm going insane here. I just want everyone to get along. Now for the top advice. Your Biozis has been using you to make nice with the family for years. She has thrown fits, manipulating people that she should be protecting. She has been violent with you. She is without a doubt a big problem you don't have to deal with anymore. You are enabling her behavior if you get involved. I don't know if you are starved for attention by getting yourself in the middle of drama, but you need to step back. You have said your piece. Now it's time to be quiet. Good luck. Man, I'm just at the end of my wits. No one wants to have a completely split apart family, and I wrote here to get some advice from an outside perspective since my family would rather just not talk about it. Thanks for taking the time to write. I'll stop talking to her. Maybe one day my sis is done kicking her feet in the sand. Don't even really need backstory with this one. She's just protecting her pain, but that doesn't make it excusable. Call her out on this behavior. Life isn't fair, nip it in the bud. Crying and being resentful cause someone else got something you wanted, is childish. I get that it's rough having a miscarriage. Me and my girlfriend had one over a year ago, but there's a healthy way to cope, and an unhealthy way to cope. She's being very unhealthy. What you can do, is try to distance yourself from toxic, just enough that it doesn't affect you too much. Sometimes it's hard to help people who want or ask for help. It's near impossible to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. As for getting everyone to get along, for practice, try mixing oil and water. When you master that, move on to people, you'll know what to do by then. Alright. Thank you for taking the time to answer. I kinda hoped there was some way to make my dumbass Biozis see her fault. I'll distance myself anyway. She won't get my attention any longer. I just wish my dad would do the same, as he's just enabling her. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone.